There, welcome to my channel. In this video I'd like to speak a little bit about Saturn in Capricorn and how it will affect Scorpio sun sign, Scorpio rising, because it will affect your third house of communication and interaction. And Saturn in a new house is always difficult because it takes 30 years for Saturn to come back to a certain point in our horoscope. So Saturn was last time in Capricorn in your third house of communication 30 years ago, and some of you might not have been born yet, so you never even experienced this transit at all. So it's good to look back, to think about the patterns, but also think about the fact that you are now in another situation in life and you are more mature and wiser, and that you will handle this transit, of course, a little bit better if you are older. And but in general it's good to know what to expect from this transit. So Saturn in the third house of communication and interaction wants you to change the way you communicate so that you communicate a bit more responsible. But you also have to make choices there. So are you open to change the way you communicate? Are you open to criticism and learn to handle it? You should also be aware that communication can become restricted. You might have problems with phones and phone coverage, computers, in traffic as well. Be careful in traffic, and you might get a ticket a little bit more often. Be also careful with the choice of neighborhood that you make. Are you sure that you, if you move to a cheaper apartment, that you will like that neighborhood? Will you be safe there? Do you know how to handle people in that neighborhood, and so on? Uh, these are the areas that you have to think about to make responsible decisions and choices. You might also experience people becoming a little bit colder and businesslike and a little bit more distant with you. So people kind of book appointments with you, or even people that try to date you, they might feel like they book an appointment with you, which might feel very strange. And maybe if you have this feeling, you should say no, of course. Maybe you don't want to get into a relationship that you feel is not right for you. So don't be too desperate when it comes to contacts, to meeting people, to dates, to and so on. You might also learn, of course, new communication skills because of work, writing skills. Maybe you get a little bit more structured when it comes to how you write. Some of you might even go education, but the third house is like a lower level education. It's not so much like university, but what other things like higher education. And when it comes to, maybe some of you might even take their driving license during this transit, and it can prove quite difficult. And also you might travel but not always enjoy your travel, or you might meet strange people when you are traveling, stubborn and difficult to communicate with, and distant, and things like that. And you can experience constant problems also with buses, with trains, with your own car or vehicle, and so on. So all these areas, it's like you have to learn to have patience, also to listen, to pay attention to maybe details. And also, if you are into creative writing, you might not feel that creative during this time, so it's better if you write about useful things instead, or things that are scientifically based, because you might not feel very inspired. And but in general, some of you might learn also another language, especially old languages, Sanskrit, Latin. And you might also get in touch with some old people or old friends, because Saturn is about the old. So maybe suddenly people that you grew up with can try to get in touch with you, and you haven't seen them in ages. And you might also uh, find many new business contacts. And it's good also not to mix work and friendship, because you might not always agree with each other, and it will destroy your friendship or your relationship. So I don't know what else. Anything connected to the third house can prove challenging. And as I said, you might change neighborhood as well, or change your network of people even. You might change from driving a car to taking a bus, or from taking a bus to driving a car, or to a motorcycle, and so on. So the mode of transportation and can also change. And but in general, take the biggest challenge would probably be communicating responsibly, feeling a little colder verbal environment around you, and possibly also learning to take criticism. But also be careful about neighborhood and so on. People from the neighborhood might also prove a little bit more critical, and so on. Until November 8th, 2018, there will be a sextile to lucky Jupiter in your own sign. So any kind of communication improvement will come smoothly. Nonetheless, every time we have a sextile, we also have a choice. So it is up to you as well if you want to improve anything regarding maybe you want a better car, get a better car. You want to learn more about communication, or how to handle something, or learn a language. Maybe some of you even move to a new country and you have to learn a new, quite difficult language, like maybe you are moving to China. I wouldn't imagine learning Chinese. And there will be eventually a trine to Uranus in Taurus, because Uranus will leave eventually Aries and move into Taurus, and then back in Aries, and then back into Taurus. So you will deal for a while also next year with a square to Uranus, but then with a trine to Uranus. And Uranus will be in Taurus in your 7th house of relationships. So you should meet some unusual people as well. And maybe you will feel a bit more open to meeting new kinds of people also in your life, eccentric people, but also new people, people with new insights, or that come from a different neighborhood, or that have different experiences, or sudden meetings. So maybe certain people will enter your life, you will have conversations, meetings, dealings with them. Maybe it's because of work or because of other reasons, and then they leave, and so on. Even meetings with astrologers, because Uranus does rule astrology. So but that's about it. I think that every Saturn transit is as good as we make it, and you have survived your Saturn transit through your 2nd house of income lately, and you will survive the next one through your 3rd house too. So don't worry, be happy, and I wish you great transit of Saturn through Capricorn. Thank you for watching.